fans, welcome back to another edition of the Terry Collins Show, presented by Tunnel to Towers, supporting America's greatest heroes. Donate just $11 per month by going to t2t.org. That's t2t.org. I'm John Arezzi, and let's bring on, right out of the box here, the former Mets skipper, the most tenured manager in the history of the franchise, back with us, direct from his home on the Treasure Coast of Florida. Let's welcome back Terry Collins. Terry, how are you?
I'm doing good, John. I'm glad to see you're back and feeling a little bit better. That's great.
Yeah, I had to take a few days on the IL. Fortunately, I have a doctor that makes house calls. Can you believe that?
Yeah, that's a strange one, but good for him. Good for him. I salute him for doing that. And I'm sure it made you feel better knowing you got somebody in your corner. So. Yeah,
to have somebody come to your house and say, "Oh, I just want to check you out," but everything's good. I caught a little bit of a bug on an air flight coming back, ironically, to Nashville from New York after all the games I went to up there. But anyway, I'm back, feeling better. I'm happy we're together again, and we're going to have a good show today. Later on, we'll have a special Talking with TC with Jay Horwitz, and we always love bringing Jay on. And we want to talk about the David Wright ceremony, the upcoming Alumni Classic. And Jay is always a pleasure to have on the show, so I'm sure we're going to enjoy bringing him back with us. So also, let's talk about what's going on with the team. Mets and the Phillies continue to trade places for first place in the National League East. And as we head down the stretch, we're into August now. Very, very critical month. There's lots to talk about, including all the moves the Mets just made in the trade deadline. And it looks to be a real dogfight between these two teams, the Mets and Phillies, as we head into the dog days of summer. And who better to discuss it with than our friend Andy Martino from SNY.TV and analyst for Baseball Night New York, one of the top insiders out there for New York baseball. Let's bring Andy right back to the Terry Collins Show here.
Hello, boys. How are we doing?
Hi, Andy. Thanks for coming on again.
Of course. Always my pleasure.
Well, I'll tell you, it's going to be an exciting month. I mean, there's going to be a lot of lead changes, but I watched both games yesterday, and it's that time of year, and this is where I've said it for many, many, many years. August, September is when the good teams come to light. So we'll see what happens. These are the true dog days of summer coming up. So it should be fun. I think it's going to be a great race.
Yeah, I agree. I certainly do. Well, Andy, the trade deadline is come and gone now. The Mets have made really some significant moves to shore up that bullpen, acquiring very high leverage relievers, including Tyler Rogers, a submarine specialist from the Giants, and the Cardinals closer Ryan Helsley, in addition to Gregory Soto from the Orioles. They addressed center field as well with Cedric Mullins from Baltimore. And Andy, and then TC, let's evaluate some of the moves these New York Mets made to improve the team going down the stretch.
Well, John, I think they got better, and I know that they fulfilled what David Stern's goals were at the deadline. It was bullpen, bullpen, bullpen. That was first and foremost, because really when you looked at that team even a week ago, you thought good ball club, good roster. Don't think that they have the bullpen to go deep into October. I really didn't, and they knew that too. No knock on Ryan Stanek, who's had a great career, but that's not your eighth inning guy to Edwin Diaz in the World Series, probably. So now when you look at the moves that they've made, where Stanek is on the bullpen depth chart, he's pretty far down now to guys that would work in the seventh, eighth inning in those highest leverage spots. Leverage is a term that came out of like 60s, 70s baseball, Terry. High leverage. Did you guys use that in Dodger Town? Anyway.
We probably did, one time.
Yeah. So I think they got better there. I thought it was important to get a center fielder. It wasn't as essential as getting bullpen help because Neal was holding it down. But obviously Stearns and Mendoza know the difference between a guy who's doing an amazing job at playing center field to a true center fielder. And have those guys that can get the ball, that guy that can get the balls in the gaps like a Mullins can. You want a center fielder if you want to go win the World Series, which the Mets do. So that was an improvement. The only thing that could be left to be desired is starting rotation, but that was intentional. They looked for rotation help. It was never as important as bullpen to Stearns this time around, and they feel that they're sort of backfilling the pitching staff by, hey, you're not going to get length out of these starters, out of this personnel. So you might as well at least try to stack some dominant bullpen guys starting in the 5th or 6th inning. And that's going to be the approach. Plus they have some kids on the farm who might be able to come up and debut in the rotation if they absolutely need. So that kind of explains their approach and how they executed it, John.
Yeah, Andy, I agree. But, the one thing, obviously, when you go back and you review the first half of the season, that bullpen stepped up so many times early in the season. There was lots of stories written about, boy, the bullpen's pitching great, and they were. But what you saw is what happens when you don't get linked out of your starters. They all get worn down. I mean, you can't keep going out there 3 days a week and throwing 30, 35 pitches. That's just not what bullpens are about. And so, yeah, they needed bullpen help for sure. I was kind of really hoping they would step up and really go find themselves one more really quality starting guy.
Yeah.
But, they are so adverse to getting rid of their top end prospects, in going that route. They haven't done it recently. And as it looks like, they're not going to ever do it. So, but I thought for sure that was something they really needed. I think your thoughts about center field were spot on. But it all comes down to those first 4 guys in that lineup. And, we've just gone through a stretch where all 4 of those guys, we had Soto was swinging good and Lindor wasn't, and now Pete wasn't, and Lindor was kind of coming back, and he slipped and Nimmo slipped. So those front 4 guys, they got to step it up. It's going to come to them. That's in the next 2 months. It's going to be about them.
I agree, and the Mets know that about their offense. It's like you can lengthen the lineup a little by trading for a Mullins, who does give you a little pop, and although you like him most as a defender. But at the end of the day, Terry, I agree. This whole thing is going to depend on whether Alonso, Soto, Lindor, and Nimmo are firing in September, October. And obviously, those, with the exception of Soto, and Soto's had his cold stretches this year, but in his career, he's very consistent. Wouldn't you say that? Am I being too harsh by saying that Alonso, Lindor, and Nimmo just are a little streaky? That's built into their game. We can see those guys get so hot, but we can also see them get a little colder than some superstars. And so if they're cold at the same time, there's no fixing this offense. And if they're hot at the same time, there's no stopping it, right?
Andy, you're absolutely right. And so what ends up happening is when they're cold all at the same time, now all of a sudden the attention goes to Vientos, Beatty, and those backup guys who, and now Alvarez has stepped up and, he's come up swinging the bat better than, but, it's still, those are the 4 guys, and those other guys, they're just add-on pieces. And again, when you all of a sudden, the pressure goes to those guys, that's a lot to ask of young players who are in their second year, basically, in the big leagues. So it's going to be about those guys clicking when they're, it's all together, because that's what's going to make this team go.
Definitely want to talk a little bit more about offense, but I want to get to the pitching, the starting rotation, and no one can get deep into the games other than David Peterson, and that creates a problem, especially when you bring in all the relievers that you have, and that bullpen looks totally different now. That bullpen looks exciting, but they're all high leverage guys where they can go maybe 1 inning. But when you have a starting pitcher that can't get past the 5th inning, that creates a problem, and I think the glaring problem right now is Frankie Montas. I don't know what kind of options they have on him or not, but they need guys that can go, that bring you length. And Terry, and what Terry says a lot is, like, you got to trust your players. Sean Manaea in his last start had pitched 5 good innings, and he came back to the dugout pointing 1 more, and they said no. So let's address that starting pitching situation and the depth of that. And what do you do to fix it? And you have these 2 kids in the minors, as you were talking about. Brandon Sproat and Nolan McLean have been lights out down there for several starts now. So let's talk about pitching.
Well, first of all, I don't think that there's a solution to this season. These guys aren't going to suddenly wake up on August 5th, 4th, or 5th and start pitching into the 7th inning, or nor will the Mets let them. This is not happening this year, right? Which is why Stearns, it's like, okay, well, let's see. Here's the reality. So what are we trying to do? Let's fill up the bullpen as best we can. And that's what Terry said. They were also tired. Kranick's had elbow surgery by now, Max Kranick, and Brazoban's down in the minor leagues. So it's like a reset button. Okay, those guys are tired. Let's bring in a whole new batch and hope they don't get too tired by the end of October. That's really the plan, John. Montas might get another start. I think he will. That's my early sense of that. But whether he does or he doesn't, so you could bring up Nolan McLean, and Nolan McLean could go on to be inducted into Cooperstown one day, but you're probably not getting length out of him at first, right? A major league debut, you might get some impact, but you're not necessarily sometimes. But the way they manage it now, rookie pitchers give you 5, almost by rule. So that's not where the length is coming from. I hear what you're saying about Minaya, but one thing that they really do now, for better or worse, the training staffs the reason they don't have like innings limits anymore, and the Mets are one of these organizations, is that they do all these biomechanical tests on your arm and your strength and your recovery in between starts, and they spit out like a algorithm almost, or like a reading of, okay, so this guy's capable of this in his next start. And if the manager doesn't follow that, he better answer for it, right? One time he didn't was when Mendy let Peterson throw that complete game a while back. And that was like, oh my God, has he gone crazy? You never see this anymore. So usually the medical staff, Terry, if you thought they were annoying back then, imagine if you had to follow the guidelines they have in place now. So that's a big part of this too. But John, I would have to say the Mets are going to win the World Series this year, and they can. It ain't going to be because the starters go deep into games, because they won't.
No, you're absolutely right, Andy. And all of that, what you just said is exactly why I'm really glad I'm sitting on this side of the camera right now. Because, that is not how I was brought up, or nor how I was ever taught, how I ever watched the game. And again, we've talked about this many times. I understand, there's times when you want to be careful of the guy, but there's also times where it's easy. There's nights that these guys their mechanics are good. They're getting easy outs. The pitchers are working. They're locating. That's the night you got to ride them a little bit. You want to back him off the next time? That's fine. I get that. But, every start, it's, 85 to 90 pitches. And, hey, look, I'm feeling good. I can get us another inning. Maybe, who knows, the next inning might even be another 7-pitch inning, the way some of these guys are pitching. Now, hey, we'll stretch them, see who's coming up. But that stuff is gone now because it's all dictated by the science. And science is not necessarily proven to be correct. And so once in a while, you just, as John alluded to, once in a while, you got to trust your players. They're also going to be the ones who would come to you and say, hey, you better get somebody ready because I'm running out of gas. And but you're looking at your bullpen right now and you're riding that bullpen. Well, God dog, there's a lot of nights, guys, and we never think about it, but there's nights and those guys get up and they get ready and they'll get into a game. Then they got to get up the next inning. You got to get ready again. Now they're in a game. Well, guess what? They've already thrown 70 pitches in the bullpen warming up. So, and so there's now you think, hey, can we give them one night off? Or because they actually threw, a ton of pitches warming up plus a ton of pitches in the game. Do they need 2 days? And that's how you end up burning out your bullpen. And so you've got to monitor that load just as much. And you can see if you watch TV, the bullpen coaches say they're counting warm up pitches. And, and again, there used to be a theory. Guys knew how many pitches they needed to warm up with. And the bullpen's coach's job was to, hey, if they need 35 pitches to warm up, when they get to 30, slow them down. Mm-hmm. Because they're going to, if they're coming into the game, the manager's, hey, you got the next guy. You can use up those last 5 in the bullpen you got, and then you get 8 more on the mound. So you got plenty to get ready to come into a game. So, those are all things that go into trying to analyze the bullpens. But Andy, you and I have talked about it. John, you and I have talked about it. We can go through not just this year. We can go back 10 years ago, where teams rode their bullpens, and all of a sudden it came to August and September, those big months, they were stinking gassed. And that's when you really need them. Because, by the way, your starting pitcher's gassed by then, too.
That's right. They're all, again, I guess that's why Stearns just brought in a whole new group of guys, right, to at least acknowledge that. But the other thing I'll say, too, hearing all your points, with Mendy, I will say, and this is the same way I tried to cover you as a manager, I get real careful about when I question when you took a pitcher out, because there's things I don't know. Like I'm thinking about with Minaya, and also knowing the people. Like, is Minaya trying to be a tough guy, or I shouldn't say it like an insult. Is he trying to help the team, but he's got that bone chip in his elbow, and they need him for the long haul, right? There's all kinds of dynamics that we from the outside can only guess at. So I'll give Mendy credit for knowing his players in that way. But for sure, your point about how So I don't want to give the impression that the front office or the medical staff is telling him exactly how to use his pitching staff. They're his decisions in game. I know that for a fact, but he's certainly guided by, if the recommendation is 85 pitches for Holmes tonight and you let him go 98, you better be able to explain why. And that's certainly something that's changed.
And Andy, but I'll tell you, I'll go back, and I know it's been 10 years or 11 years or maybe whatever it is, but tonight Bartolo pitched in Anaheim. When he came to me and said, hey, look, I'm going to get you to the 7th inning.
Yeah.
Our bullpen is shot. It's tired. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. But we got to save that bullpen. And he was right. And sure enough, you looked up in the 7th inning. Okay, they had 7 runs, and he's out there. But guess what? We saved enough pitching so that tomorrow, when we really have a good chance of winning, we had guys ready. And that comes to the professionalism of the sport, of the player himself.
It's a great example, and that's an example that I'm not sure would be allowed quite to go on the same way today. You're right. Just that spontaneous, like, I got it, don't worry about it, what it means for me. I guess a team, like if that exact scenario is happening in 2025, maybe because it's Bartolo, there's a little more leeway because he's a veteran guy and you only have him under contract for a couple of years. But certainly if a younger pitcher tried to do that, there's no way he would be allowed to. No, I'm sure there's some growth. Like if Paul Skeen said to Don Kelly that same thing, I don't know what, lock him up or something to prevent him from throwing more than 5. That's definitely a different situation now.
Sure, and that's why when you talk about these guys in AAA, I don't have any numbers on them. Make no mistake. I'm just trying to put an opinion here. I can guarantee you, not one of those guys has thrown 90 pitches this year.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure that's about right. If it's not perfectly right, I'm sure you got the right idea.
Yeah, the minor league games I've seen 2 years ago, I saw a starting pitcher pitching a 2-hitter in the 6th inning, and he reached his 75th pitch, and out he came. So, and that always, to me, Andy, was how can you expect a pitcher to get out of trouble when you never let him get in trouble? Mm-hmm. You understand? I mean, there's nights that you got to be able to pitch yourself out of a jam, and they're not taught that anymore. And so they look up at the scoreboard now, and those pitch counts are everywhere, and they're looking up and they say, "Oh, I got 71 pitches. Well, I got one more hitter, and I know there's people cranking in the ball. I got to get one more out, and I'm out of here." And that's the part that and again, that's, as I've said so many times, that's where the game is today. You accept it or you get out of it. So
you chose the latter.
I did.
Yeah, I think you're making a point on getting out of teaching a guy or having him have the experience to learn how to get out of trouble. I think that's one of those things that modern people, there's these ideas that younger executives come into the game and look down on their nose at something and you go, oh, that's old school, that's stupid. And then a couple years later, it kind of comes back around. I could see it being one of those things. A good example of that would be having a bigger arsenal of pitches. I'm sure you remember it was sort of toward the tail end of you managing the Mets when it became really in vogue in the game. I think Tampa kind of was at the cutting edge of this, where you just wanted your relievers to throw 1 pitch and you wanted your starters to cut down to throw 2 or 3. And now you've got relievers throwing 4 pitches and starters back to throwing 4 or 5, because all of a sudden these people who thought you were a dummy 10 years ago for wanting a wide array of pitches now think it's a better idea. So sometimes these things swing back around, and I think teaching pitchers to go deeper into games should be one of those things, because why wouldn't you want a guy who's battle tested, knows how to get out of trouble?
And Andy, now to kind of help out the guys of today, the pitch clock has kept them from learning how to pitch out of jams, because they no longer can take a second to, hey, look, how am I going to get out of this inning here? I got to get 2 more outs. Yeah. So now I got to make every pitch mean something. And so you got to set up pitch to pitch to pitch. They got to get back on the mound and throw something now. Right. And there's no thought process going into how am I going to get out of here, because you're rushed to get back on the mound and throw your next pitch. So
that's a great point. Also physically, I remember Max Scherzer telling me the first year of the pitch clock that he felt like it was actually more of a cardio workout than pitching used to be, because literally not only don't you have time to think about your next pitch, but you're like, it's more draining than I would have thought, going pitch after that every 15 seconds. So let alone time to think. So it's a good point.
Oh yeah. I can tell you, I could tell you a dozen times that I've gone to the mound in the 6th inning and I got a starting pitcher out there And the first thing I say is, hey, we got to slow down and make some pitches and get out of this inning. And those starting pitchers would look and they'd say, I'm shutting it down now. Okay, they might have to reach back for a little extra to get that last 2 outs, but they already got 100, maybe 105 to 110 pitches, but they can do it. And you know what they did? Between starts, they backed off their sidelines. I had one of the best pitchers I was ever around after June, didn't throw sidelines anymore because he had to pitch every 5th day, and he saved his bullets for the game. He said, I'm not going to go out and throw 50 pitches 2 days from now. Why? It's when I have 4 days from now to count. And so, and again, that stuff has all been negated as, that's not how you should do it. Well, guess what? It worked for 100 years. And now all of a sudden, 100 years of guys throwing, Koufax throwing 375 innings. Well, he's an idiot. Yeah, well, he's got 5 world championships and 5 Cy Youngs and a Hall of Fame hanging on his wall. So, had to work back then. I don't know why I can't work some at certain times today too.
Yeah.
It's frustrating to watch as, the analytics and the pitch counts. And as Terry was saying, years ago, let them go. They pitched. And so it's frustrating to watch. Another thing that's been frustrating to watch is that top of the lineup. So that Fab Four that Steve Cohen had mentioned several weeks ago, they've not been clicking. And it's really so inconsistent. It's like, what do the Mets need to get it going? Like Soto, when Soto comes up, he's become very unexciting to watch. I mean, it's almost inadvertently that like you could expect that he's going to roll one over to second base like one or twice a game or pop up to second base. And even the hit that he got the other day was like deflected off the pitcher's glove. So does it start with him or does it start with, Pete or Lindor? Is it all of them collectively to, what is it going to take? It's very frustrating to watch. And I'm sure they're frustrated as it's happening game to game. Well,
it could be worse, John. You could be a Yankee fan. They're even more frustrated to watch for their fans right now. But I understand.
The Marlins are the only team in the history of baseball that has a winning record against the almighty Yankees.
That's right. I think Soto, it's interesting because it seemed like he completely found himself after that rough start. And you're right, it's sort of dipped again a little bit. I don't know if it starts with him. Maybe it's more of a Terry question. But from me, is a baseball person, but for me watching, I just think to me, John, it goes back to what we said before, where it's sort of part of their game. These particular guys, like they're capable of getting very, very cold. And that's why you look up at the end of the year and Lindor for his greatness is going to be a 250, 275 hitter at the end of the year and not a 300 hitter because of these kinds of stretches. Right. So it just becomes frustrating to watch, like you said, when they're all kind of in that funk at once. And I think all you can do with players that are that experienced is hope that it doesn't happen the first week of October. I don't mean to sound, defeatist, but isn't that just baseball? Like they just get hot at the right time, please.
Yeah.
I don't know, Terry, is there more to it than that?
No, there's not more to it at all. I mean, those guys are professionals. They've got great track records. Their numbers on the back of their baseball cards dictate that they're good offensive players. And now they just got to go back. I've always been a guy who believes in staying with your strengths. Okay. And a lot of those strengths today are, where you've hit in the lineup. That's always been you've always been successful. I remember when all of a sudden you wanted to move the real good hitter into the number 2 hole because that was, that's because it gets him up maybe one more time a game. Well, what? That may be said, but there's just something about these players who have fallen into these routines of when they're going to hit, their pregame preparation, and now all of a sudden, I'm leading off and I'm doing really good. No, now I'm hitting second, and there's just that little bitty tweak in the mindset that changes how you approach your at bats. And and they're good players, they're good hitters. I said last year I would never move Brandon Nimmo out of the leadoff spot. This guy sees 7-8 pitches at the bat, walks a lot. Well, now he's changed his game the way he hits now because he wants to hit for more power, so he's a little bit more aggressive at times. So you move Lindor in. The guy was MVP, in my opinion, leading off last year. And there's not a lot of MVPs who lead off, but he was one of them. And now all of a sudden, well, let's flip him back into the 2-hole. Let's move everybody back one. And and again, for me, not that it was wrong, but I just think, again, players look at it, well, geez, now I'm expected to do something different instead of just being who they are. And I think anytime you ask players to change their routines and what's expected, they get away from what they do best. And I look at what Pete did early in the season. I mean, this guy got base hit after base hit to right field. And now those balls are away, he's swinging and missing them because his thought process, I'm sure he's been told, you got to drive the ball more. You got to get the ball in the air more. Well, he was driving in run after run early in the season by getting singles. So there's nothing wrong with that, especially when those guys ahead of him, you're getting on base all the time. You look up early in the year, and Francisco Lindor was standing at second base every night. And Pete kept saying, well, I'm going to hit a single. We're either 1-0 or 2-1. I mean, he drove in runs, and they've gotten away from a little bit, which is, again, human nature when you get in crunch time and starting to get crunch time.
That's good points.
Excellent points, Terry. It looks like it's going to be a 2-team race in the NL East. I mean, Phillies, Mets just keep alternating who's in first place at this stage of the game. But even with the Phillies making some pretty big moves during the trade deadline, who do you think is the stronger team at this point when you take a look at the next couple of months? Or are they kind of very evenly matched at this point?
I think that the Mets are better than the Phillies. I think the Phillies did improve their bullpen, but the Mets certainly held serve with that. When you got that ace in Zach Wheeler at the top, that certainly helps. And it's something that Senga can be, but he's not. He's an ace, but he may not be a horse, as we were talking about going deeper into the game. So that's an advantage to the Phillies. But I thought, guys, what we really saw in the division series last year was we're talking about the Mets having a feast or famine offense. The Phillies really do. And they have a lot of guys that chase and a lot of guys that don't necessarily give you a great at bat when they're not hitting a home run. So I just like the Mets roster a little bit better. That's not to say that Phillies can't get hot and Mets can't get cold, and that's how it's settled. But if you're asking me who I think is better, I think the Mets have the edge.
I agree, Andy. I totally agree with that. What you just said is exactly. I see that Philly lineup. They have when you got 3 of them hitting the ball in the ballpark, they're really dangerous. But and obviously with what they did in their bullpen to get the big closers, it was important. But I just think the Mets are a little bit more well-rounded. I like their team. You look down the bench and they've got replacements now of guys who could come in, and I just like them. And they've proved that, they're a better team when they go head to head. So yep. I think it's going to be a great race. The last 2 months of the season, and for me, that's what big league baseball is about. It's about the good teams battling each other, and everybody's going to get in. They're both going to get in the playoffs in October, and now we'll find out who can really pick up their play.
Yep.
We certainly look forward to the rest of the season. The Mets and Phillies have, I believe, another 8 games against each other as we head towards the end of the last couple months here. Andy, before we wrap up the leadoff, you had a pretty cool announcement that came out on social media this week, and you got another book in the works. So
that's right.
Please let us know about that.
Thanks for mentioning it. This one's about the Mets. Around the time that they signed Soto, and I was covering that and kind of, because of my role as a reporter on the inside of what was going on there, I thought this is really interesting. And if you zoom out, it's like a really big moment for New York baseball and industry in general when the Mets step up and say, we got Soto. So I thought it was an interesting time to try to write about Steve Cohen years, but the whole history of the franchise too. And John, this is where I'll be interested to see what you think of what I come up with, because I had this idea that the Mets, this whole LOL Mets thing, has kind of always been unfair. I mean, you're talking about the team that was out of the gate, fast track to a championship. But all we talk about is the lovable losers in 62, right? They've had some dominated the town in the 80s. They've had some amazing success. It hasn't all been a joke. But they haven't had the kind of sustained success that allows them to totally shake that off, that reputation. And I think there's always been a specific reason why something hasn't worked out, whether it was when you get free agency in the 70s, Yankees and Steinbrenner are all in on that, and the Mets are going to downshift, trading Seaver or not signing players. You've got the impact of Bernie Madoff's downfall that really impacted Terry's era and the ability to continue to add, other than in 15. So you've got all these things that have not worked out. So the story to tell is Steve and Alex Cohen have the formula with their leadership in place and their money where it is going to finally have sustained success. So I'm not just trying to tell the story of Steve and Alex's ownership and Soto and Lindor and all the new stuff, but take a look at the whole history of the team and say, it's never been as bad as people want to tell you it has been, but it hasn't broke through yet either. So that's kind of the story I'm trying to tell, John.
It sounds like a fascinating book, Andy. We wish you the best with it as you make progress with it, and I believe it'll come out sometime in 2026.
Yeah, next year, probably June next year, I think. But got to finish it first.
Excellent.
Always a prerequisite there.
That's right.
Well, good luck with that.
I'm grinding on now. Thank you.
It's going to be a great book, I'm sure.
Thanks, guys.
As always, Andy, we want to appreciate your time here with us at the Terry Collins Show. Always a pleasure to have you here, and let everybody know where they could find you on the social media that you're active on.
That's at Martino MWC on Twitter, and I don't even remember what my TikTok name is. I can't keep track of this stuff. Find me on TikTok somewhere, and then on television. Imagine that. Well, turn on your TV. Sometimes. How about that?
You can find you on TV as well. SNY. All right. Thank you so much, Andy. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, Andy. Be safe.
Bye.
Always good to have Andy on the leadoff, and Terry, of course, talking about what's going on with the Mets. And, of course, we got 2 months left to the season, so it should be very exciting. Other exciting things that are happening right now, let's talk about our presenting sponsor, Tunnel to Towers. And, of course, Tunnel to Towers has done some amazing things, and they're gearing up for an even busier late summer and fall with some of the events that they got coming up. And as it does each and every month, Tunnel to Towers Foundation, they work nonstop on behalf of the first responders and our military heroes. So here's what's coming up for Tunnel. Registration is now open for one of the most popular and unforgettable 5K runs in the country. The 24th annual Tunnel to Towers Run Walk takes place Sunday, September 28th. That event retraces the heroic footsteps of FDNY firefighter Stephen Siller. On September 11, 2001, the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel was closed for security reasons. Stephen left his car on the Brooklyn side, strapped on his firefighting gear, ran through the tunnel, and lost his life at the Twin Towers. His sacrifice was the impetus for the founding of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This year's race is capped at 30,000 participants, so sign up today. Go to t2t.org. This year's post-run celebration will feature multi-platinum recording artist and country music star Chris Janson. Janson is a Grand Ole Opry member and an award-winning performer. He's also a dedicated supporter of Tunnel to Towers. You can get more information about the run and Janson's concert at t2t.org. That's t2t.org. And this month, Tunnel to Towers Foundation is expanding its homeless veterans program. August the 13th, another date to mark down, when more than a dozen individual comfort homes will open in Houston at the Houston Veterans Village. And then on August 26th, the grand opening will be held for a new Veterans Village outside of Atlanta. It will provide stable housing for nearly 100 veterans. In addition, the facilities offer a range of supportive services. Both ceremonies are open to the public, and you're certainly invited to be there if you're in that area. You can find more information on the Tunnel to Towers Homeless Vets program by going to t2t.org. And we're going to return with a special Talking with TC with Mets VP of Alumni Relations, Jay Horwitz, after this word from David Wright on behalf of Tunnel to Towers.
I'm David Wright, former New York Mets third baseman, and I support the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. I've seen firsthand the great work they do helping our firefighters, our police, and our soldiers and their families. T2T is asking for your support for these brave men and women. Just $11 a month will go a long way and make a big difference. Go to t2t.org to find out more. Let's go Mets, and let's do good together.
Well, we're always happy to bring on the Terry Collins Show, one of our dear friends who has spent 45 years in the Mets organization, formerly head of media operations, now in a very special role, the vice president in charge of alumni relations. Let's welcome back to Talkin with TC, the only person that everybody loves universally in the New York Mets family and all the fans, Mr. Jay Horwitz. Jay, how you doing?
My pleasure, John Terry, but thanks to be with you guys again.
Well, it's great to have you on, Jay. My gosh, with all the activities going on at the stadium this year, I've got to see you quite a bit. It's been a lot of fun for me.
Yeah.
So here we are again. I think I'm going to get to see you soon again. So it's great.
My pleasure, Terry.
Yeah, it's great. I wanted to bring you on, Jay, because there's been a couple of projects you've been working on, one which just took place and the other one coming up, the first being in the remarkable ceremony that took place on July 19th. And that was to, of course, honor David Wright, retired number 5, his induction in the Hall of Fame. And, Jay, with all the ceremonies you've been involved with, beginning with the first, or really in the 1980s when Seaver was inducted and had his number 41 retired, I think, in 88. Was this the most memorable for you of all of them? And, Terry, I'd like to get your feelings on that day now that we're a few weeks removed from it.
Well, let me tell you this, John. The crowd was as warm as I've ever seen for one of these things. As soon as David stepped on the field, the applause was so genuine. When he stepped on third base, when he made the circle with his family, there was just a warmth in the stadium. All the other stuff was great, but this for me is on the top of how the fans received him, and it was just a feeling of warmness and togetherness, and David was part of the family. I mean, he was just a humble guy, never bragged about all of his accomplishments, and I think the crowd just greeted him so warmly. That's my feeling, the most warmest ceremony I've been a part of.
Jay, I thought his acceptance speech was great, but it was when we were in the press conference in the beginning before the ceremony. When you heard him talk about his respect for his teammates. And this was the guys that when he first came up that taught him how to be a pro. He used to tell you, he brought it up many times. Well, these guys taught me how to act and how to behave and how to prepare to be a pro. His connection with certain guys like Michael Kadire, how after they became close friends after David signed, and how Michael helped him in the wintertime get ready to be a professional player. His relationship with Jose Reyes and the stories about when they were just kids together. I mean, it was so genuine. This guy was so appreciative, and so it acts when you think about everything that's ever been said or written about him. He brought it out. He just with everything he had to say the entire weekend, I thought was first class. He didn't miss an event. He had great energy at all of them. And, we're talking about a guy who still in the morning does 30 minutes of exercises so he can get up and move around. I mean, it just shows you his respect for the city, the organization, and the game itself.
Look at the people he had on the line with him. Josh Satin, not a big-name player, but a friend. Michael Kadire, a friend from Norfolk, Virginia. Dave Roccanella, 20-year friend, the bullpen catcher, who was actually the best man at his Davis winning. What I'm trying to say is those are the kind of people who David graduated to. He was really a man of the people, and I thought his speech was great. Talk about his mom and his family, his kids. It was just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day and a great reception, from the crowd. But, in all my years, I'm always asked, who's the best guy I work with? I don't want to go 1, 2, but one of the top 2, 3, without a doubt. I mean, because you got parts of it, the community, never turned away an autograph, understood he had an obligation, to the fans. They're just in my religion, John, he's a real mensch.
Jay, I know you were involved in tons of meetings, prepared up to go up to this, but I thought you guys did a tremendous job the way you went about it. I mean, to have him come out on the field on the third base side, to have third base be gold. I mean, tremendous preparation for the entire ceremony, and then the post stuff. I mean, after the ceremony, I mean, the number of guys that were there that didn't get recognized, that were in the suites, that David again took time to make sure he went from suite to suite to suite to say thank you. And it's you guys did a tremendous job. You should be very proud of the way it came about, because it came off as probably one of the nicest days that I've ever experienced in a major league stadium.
So 2 examples of what you're talking about. Jay Bruce, who didn't play with David a lot, paid his own way to come here. Mike Cameron, who didn't really play with David a lot, wanted to be here for him. These guys, all of them could be on the field. Like there was probably 20 to 30 people, former general managers, former managers were there. Yourself, Willie, with Bobby Valentine was, he wasn't there, but it was just a really great day, and just a really humble guy, and just a little touch of regret for me. I mean, what might have been if the neck and the back and the spinal sclerosis didn't take place. No doubt he was on a Hall of Fame path. You know what, though? He's got a great life for himself. He is Molly, live in San Diego, take care of the 3 kids. He coaches their kids, activities. But, what would have happened if he had stayed healthy his whole career? But moved on from there.
Right. Well, Jay, you brought up, I mean, the night before the ceremony, I spent 30 minutes talking to Ryan Zimmerman, the third baseman, from the Nationals, who was a childhood friend of David's, who flew up for it. Bobby Parnell was there. I hadn't seen Bobby Parnell in years. He was there. Harv was there. They were,
Dylan G came up.
Dylan G came. I saw Dylan G. I mean, there were so many guys that he touched, and their respect for him was such that, hey, they were going to be there. And I thought that was a great tribute to David, with all those guys coming.
Yeah, and people forget he was a hell of a player too. 7-time All-Star, Gold Glove, Silver Slugger, and maybe in the back of his mind, Billy Wagner, one of our former players, just got in. He started on the Hall of Fame bat like 10%. Took him 10 years. He got there. Who knows? Maybe people will start realizing when the years go by that his 10-year period as a player were comparable to getting the Hall of Fame. I wouldn't close the door, and maybe it's a possibility for David.
Well, I hope you're right. I hope you're right there. So.
Yeah, certainly very deserving. I was fortunate enough to be there on the field. Shot a lot of footage of that, and such a coincidence took place as I was arriving with my nephew Dominic, and we were in front of Citi Field, and who pulls up in a big SUV but David Wright and his family. So captured that moment and shot a bunch of footage, and basically when I took a look at it, I sent it over to Marsh, our creative director, and there was a song that we found that was recommended for us to use during the background of the video, and the lyrics were just so fitting for what was happening on that field that day that I reached out to the band. The band was a band called the Layup Band, and the song is called "The Best One Yet." And lo and behold, they gave us permission to use the song in kind of a music video tribute to David Wright. And Terry, you haven't seen this. Jay, you haven't seen this, but it kind of captured almost a home movie. It's almost like a home movie unfolding with music video behind it. And you're both in it. And I'd like for Marsh to pull that up, and then we'll talk about it on the other side. But here is the music video that we captured from that day, Best One Yet. And thanks to the Layup Band who gave us permission to use the song with this video footage.
First day of the summer and it's calling for good weather. It's nice out at the moment and it's only getting better. It's all shaping up to be a time to be remembered. Amazing situation, now it's all coming together. I'm looking at a bottle of lightning and a sky full of stars aligning. Maybe I'm overexcited. That's it. Oh my, it's the best one yet. That's it. It's really happening. That's it. Oh my, it's the best one yet. Best one yet. Tell me that you're going, it's an open invitation. My cousin says driving if it's any consolation. I'm gonna go get my telescope to aim at constellations. This kind of supernova happens once a generation. Sky full of stars aligning. I've never seen anything like it. Maybe it's just good timing, but I got a feeling this will be the best one yet. That's it. Super phenomenal. That's it. Oh my, it's the best one yet. That's it. It's really happening. That's it. Oh my, it's the best one yet. Best one yet. It's gonna be best one yet. Best one yet. Looking at a bottle of lightning and a sky full of stars aligning. I got a feeling this thing
What I can tell you is for me, looking back on it, the rest of these is pretty simple. You'll take more than everybody else. Be willing to work harder than everybody else. Thank you so much for allowing me to live my dream in front of me. Thank you so much.
It's gonna be best one yet.
Great song,
That's
Tom.
very cool. That's very cool, John. Nice job.
I like
Hey,
to, I like to thank Marsh too. Marsh is the guy that.
Great job. Hey,
Thank you.
can I just say one thing, guys? Caught my eye. David and Tom Seaver had a great rapport, great friendship. And what he did at third base, bowing to all sections of the stadium, that's what Tom did when his number was retired.
Yes.
And they hit it off. Tom adored David because Tom knew that David appreciated the history and David adored Tom for who he was. But that thing he did at third base, that's a tribute to Tom Seaver.
It was reminiscent of that for sure, because I was at the Seaver ceremony in '88. I remember when he just bowed to every part of the
Yeah,
stadium.
great.
We want to thank our creative director Marsh, who put it together with the music
Great
band
job.
layout.
Great job, Marsh.
Thank you. Well, we have another big event coming up, and that's, of course, September the 13th, and it's the Alumni Classic. That's going to be heading to Citi Field, and that's going to be another special day. Jay, let me ask you a question about this. I know that it's probably an enormous undertaking to put something like this together. Tell us how this event came about, and will it be something that perhaps could go annually?
Why the answer? I don't know that, John. We had a old timers game about 4 years ago. We haven't done it in a while. We wanted to, get it going again this year. And Steve and Alex gave me permission to start it. It's not really a bona fide old timers game. It's really the Shea All Stars against the City All Stars. So we're talking of a period from 2000 to 2015. and we got like 41 players coming back. We had Terry, Willie Reno, Jerry Manuel, Bobby Valentine managers. We have, guys like Bartolo Clo, Beniac Bayani, Beltran, Reed, Ordonez, Dickey, LaDuca, Pelfrey, Mike Piazza, Darryl Strawberry, Jose Reyes, Josh Satin, as Jubal Cabrera, Juan Lagares, Kelly Johnson. So it's just a way, I think our fans love this kind of stuff. One of the things I've tried to do, John, they took over the alumni job to reconnect with our players, with the fans. It doesn't always have to be the all-star guys, just players who fans can identify with. So I'm hoping, we're playing, it's in the afternoon of the 13th. The Rangers play, we have a game with the Rangers that day. I try to get a call to Bruce Bochy, ask him maybe could get DeGrom to throw an inning that day. Bruce hasn't called me back. Okay, what do you think of chance that Bruce called me back? That good? No, and
he might call you back because that's Bruce Bochy, but your chances of having Jake pitch an inning, that won't happen until 4:05.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, Al White is thrilled about the game. His son Jack, Al is hoping secretly that Jack might be the Rangers starting pitcher that day. Jack's had a pretty good year. He's got 7 wins in rotation. So it should be nice. It's something we want to keep going. We have a good thing going with the alumni, and Steve and Alex are very supportive of what we're doing. And it's just another step, and hopefully next year we'll come up with something else to get the fans enticed.
Well, certainly a wonderful event. And Terry, you and Jay have been working pretty closely on this since you're managing one of the teams with Jerry Emanuel. How closely are you guys working together on this lineup, this roster? What is your part in TC?
I will tell you, John, what it is. It turns out being the night before when everybody's there, or the next day to go to every guy and say, okay, you want to pitch? Or how many at bats do you think you might want to get? Because there's a couple guys that are going to say, I don't really care to pitch. But the best part with me is I got Bartolo, but I lost Syndergaard. He went off and signed to start trying to play again. So
Harry, I don't actually know he got released last night.
Who, Noah did?
Yeah, he got released by the White Sox. I said I was going to wait a little bit and hawk him and see if he wants to. I said, your thing is still open. No, I hope he'll come. But I wasn't going to call him today. But I just want to pay.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that, but at least now we're okay. But I told when Bobby and I were together last week at David's affair, Bobby and I did a couple of functions, and we got a big bet on the game, and the winner has to buy the loser has to buy the winner a steak dinner. So and I went out with David with Bobby one night to hit one of these restaurants, and if I lose, it's going to cost me a pretty penny because he knows some pretty good restaurants in town.
I'm sure he does.
I'm not losing those, John. I can tell you right now. I'm not. Half of my guys can still play. So
the guys look to get together again. It should be nice, and hope we have a full house like we did for David's Day.
Oh yeah. I think it'll certainly be a sellout for sure. But just to bring back some of these names and to have some competition, some healthy competition on the field, and guys like Jose Reyes and who could still really go. I mean, he really can go.
Oh, yeah.
You have some guys that are really that are really great athletes, and so it's going to be a lot of fun. And I don't know how much work is put into something like this, Jay. Only you know. And
well,
I'm sure it's a labor of love for you.
Terry did about 9,000 interviews pertaining to the David Day and this game. So guys like Terry supported us. I know we're going to get a big turnout there, and Terry's the best.
Yes. Well, both of you guys are, and it's so happy to see you together. And it's always a pleasure, Jay, to have you here on the show. And I do want to give a plug out, like we do every week, to your podcast, Amazing Conversations. And I know recently, last week's episode, you had Bobby and
right.
Terry together. That was so cool. How cool was it to get both of the skippers together from those
two good buddies? I didn't really have to say much. The guy kept it going without me. It was fun. A lot of jokes, a lot of good times. It was a fun thing.
Hey, John. Before we let Jay go, he's a week away from his birthday.
Oh Christ!
Really?
Yeah, 34.
34.
Yeah. Okay.
John, I'm going to be 80 years old.
I'm going to get to wish him a happy birthday twice. So happy birthday next week.
Jay, did you say you're going to be? Jay, you just said you're going to be 80.
80. 80 years old, John. I'm an old fart.
80.
Holy
80.
I never thought
How about that?
80, John.
We tip our hats to you, Jay.
We
It's
definitely
old,
took
John.
perhaps.
You
Definitely.
ever know anybody as old as me?
You know, I had a conversation with Terry offline before we started broadcasting today. I said, you know, it's a matter of, that clock doesn't stop for any man. It just keeps going and going. But you keep active. You try to keep yourself engaged and doing things that you're passionate about. And even though time, is a friend to no man, as long as you can keep doing what you're doing. And Jay, you're out there and you're involved and you're working and you're beloved by so many generations of Met fans.
Well,
and players and personnel. So,
John, I'm telling you, I was with him the night before on Friday night at the stadium. And I was going to do a part of during the game. And I was going to do a thing with Steve Gelbs and Jay and I were in the lounge waiting to get out there. And there was person after person came over to say hi to him and want his autograph, want a picture. And I'm going to tell you what, here we are. We're doing this podcast. He's getting 80th birthdays next week, and he's sitting at work today. He's sitting at work. How about that? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Right?
That's the love of the game. That's the love of the game. Wow. Love of what you do, and that's why he's loved by everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
That is buddy. Always
a pleasure. And don't forget to check out the podcast available wherever you get your podcasts. And now we're going to look forward to that next episode, Jay, with Wilmer. That's going to be a good one.
It's so much fun with that. Wilmer's the best, man. Can't believe he's 34 years old with 2 kids. Wilmer.
That's amazing.
He took a lesson from George Foreman, did he? Didn't George name all
George did that. Foreman, yeah.
It's crazy.
Wonderful. Always a pleasure, Jay, to have you on with
Thanks,
us.
guys. Appreciate you guys.
We'll see you soon.
See you, Jay.
Another great talking with TC with one of our dearest friends, Jay Horwitz. What an amazing man, and 80 years old. Wow. Amazing. And he's still doing it, so it's great to have him.
Still doing it and still loves it.
Absolutely. Another person who still loves what he does is Frank Siller, TC. As you know, Frank, they never stop over there at Tunnel of Towers. And this week we have another great story that we'll show everybody now. And he was able to sit down with Hollywood legend, the one and only Sylvester Stallone, Rocky himself, and discuss Stallone's involvement with the foundation. Another huge name aligning with T to T. So let's go to that right now.
Wow. Lo and behold.
I know that walk anywhere.
Welcome to the set of Tulsa King. It's a privilege to see you here.
Oh my God, what a treat.
Likewise.
Can't thank you enough for being here on your set. My goodness.
Welcome to the bar at Tulsa King.
You know, when I first met you, you said to me that you wanted to help out.
Whenever we can take our ability to bring focus onto what your cause is, it's an honor to be chosen to do this for you.
What draws you to help our American heroes?
The least we can do, or people that have the means, is contribute to these incredible people that don't get any recognition at all, but they're the real heroes. We're kind of movie heroes. They make us. We're fictional. They're real.
If any first responder or Gold Star would or has someone die in the line of duty and they leave a young family behind, we pay every mortgage off in America.
Which is such a humane thing to do, to take care of the people that are taking care of us.
Exactly. It's simple.
It's really simple math.
This coming year, we're building a special 100 smart homes for the catastrophically injured service members and first responders.
The stuff that you take for granted that they can't do, and now they can.
And over the last 2 years, we've taken over 10,000 homeless veterans off the streets. We get them all the comprehensive services they need to assimilate back into society.
Every one of them deserves a home and to feel safe, considering what they've contributed to this country's safety and future.
People know that when they make a donation, their money is gonna go to these heroes.
True. It's like guaranteed in the bank. And everyone, this is money well spent, and you know exactly where it's going, into these people's lives.
Well, thank you very much.
And keep punching.
Thank you. God bless.
I'm Sylvester Stallone. Please donate $11 a month at T2T.org.
Well, Terry, they got Sylvester Stallone involved with them now. It just never ends. The names get bigger and bigger.
And John, it shouldn't end. There should be anybody who has any respect for the country itself should be involved somehow.
Yeah. And they got that big 5K race coming up in September. So that's another big event up there in New York. I was talking to John Franco was our guest host last week, and he's not going to run it, though. He said, I know you are. I know you're signing up again. But Johnny can watch it from his window at his place in New York. So, it was really fun to have John on too with us. And it was the second time he did he guest hosted for us. And I don't know if you've met his daughter. Have you met his daughter, Ella, yet?
Yeah, I've met everybody, but it's been a while since I've seen her. So
she's become quite the influencer on social media, and she's got her own TikTok and Twitter X account and tons of followers. And she shoots these candid videos of her dad, like him commenting on something and asking him a question like, Dad, do you ever wish you were athletic? And he's like, he looks at her. Did you ever wish you were athletic? So she captures all of this and she puts it on social media. So we brought her on last week with Johnny to talk about these videos. And then we brought Laura Albanese on to have a kind of a leadoff segment with them. And it worked really well. And you can tell John is really proud of her. She's an intern at a law firm now. And now she's kind of deciding, do I want to, be a baseball reporter or should I be, working in law? And of course, where Johnny is kind of guiding her, like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but it was fun having him on. And Terry, as always, great to see you. And we'll talk to you real soon. It's great to have you back with us.
Thank you, John. Good to see you.
Same here. Always great to have Terry here with us, and he's a busy guy, as everybody knows, but always a pleasure to have him on, and we'll be speaking to Terry again and with other segments, of course, throughout this month as well. We're going to invite you to subscribe to The Terry Collins Show on your favorite podcast platform or on our YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com/The Terry Collins Show. The entire archives of the past 2 seasons are available on the podcast platform you listen on, and on the YouTube channel. All episodes are archived as well as we highlight clips in each one of the episodes, so you can check them all out on that YouTube channel. We really want to thank once again our creative director Marsh and our researcher Dominic DiBiase. For Terry Collins, this is John Arezzi. We'll see you next time.